Well, folks, I think we will go ahead and get started with the public comment portion of today. For this comment period, it will run 1 hour. We have 2 comment periods today. This first one will run 1 hour, and then we'll pick it up again later in the afternoon. If you would like to provide a comment, when you came in the doors today, there was a ticket that you should have picked up. And what we're going to try to do is when you come forward, there's a microphone on each side in the aisle. And when you come forward, we're going to have someone that will pick the ticket up from you. We're going to have 2 minutes for anyone to be able to come forward and to provide their comments. And we're going to do everything we can to try to work through as many people as possible. But I do need your cooperation. If you can limit your comments to 2 minutes, that ensures we get as many people as possible to be able to come forward and provide their comments. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and get started. If you would like to provide a public comment, just come ahead and line up along each side of the aisle by the microphone, and you can go ahead and get started. If everyone could take their seats. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Ken Turner, and I really appreciate the opportunity given by USDA Department of Justice for this workshop. My comments will be exceedingly brief. I just want to point out something that many of us know here. Something is wrong here in America when market manipulation is condoned by our government. Something is wrong when market manipulation closes processing plants and markets to family farms. Something is wrong when market manipulation leads to the death of family farms and rural communities, displacing family farms. Something is wrong when corporate agriculture is subsidized as it displaces family farms. Something is wrong when corporate agriculture is responsible for a redistribution of wealth from rural communities to the hands of very few. Recently in America, many people are rethinking the concept of acceptable risk. From the coal mines in West Virginia to the Gulf Coast and the oil spill, we have problems with acceptable risk. Something is wrong when corporate ag is above the concept of acceptable risk. Is it acceptable today in northwestern Illinois to place 43 acres of manure pits, leaking 40,000 gallons of untreated waste per day by their own engineers witness and testify, less than 5 feet above an aquifer that is the drinking water for thousands? Something is wrong in America, our America, when this is allowed to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi, my name is Sarah Lloyd, and I'm a dairy farmer from the Wisconsin Dells. My husband, Nels Nelson, and I milk 300 cows with his brother and brother's family and my in-laws. And we ship our milk to Foremost Farms. I appreciate this ability to speak today. There's something very wrong in the dairy industry. It's been devastating to my friends in the dairy farming community this year. We have many people on the verge of bankruptcy. I know many farmers that have their children on free and reduced lunch at schools. So I urge the Department of Justice to take action now. There are things that can be done on existing enforcement actions and investigations, and you need to take action now. We need a fair price. To give you an example of what could happen in Wisconsin, we are the dairy state, but not just on production. We actually have 12,500 dairy farms in the state, probably a little bit more than that, but that's pretty phenomenal when you consider our friends in California have about 1,900 dairy farms. We have 12,500. But we produced 25 billion pounds of milk last year in Wisconsin, and we could actually do that with 255,000 cow dairies instead of the 12,500 cow dairies. And I really think that it's important for communities, for our schools, for our churches, for our land that we keep a distributed production system. And so, but we need a price that will support families. So I ask that the DOJ take action immediately to make sure that a fair price can be given to farmers for their production. We need cost of production plus a reasonable amount of money to make a living. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Irv Conley, and I'm a member of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. I'm here on behalf of about 3,000 dairy workers within our union who are part of 1.3 million nationwide in meat packing, food processing, and retailing. And we appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today, and our concerns go beyond the relationship between the dairy processing companies and the farmers. We want you to consider the state of consolidation in the dairy industry, but also into other agricultural markets in general. We urge the administration to include in this investigation the assessment of the role of the retail grocer in this sector, playing and driving consolidation in various agricultural markets. This means the involvement of the Federal Trade Commission in this process is critical, and we're concerned by their absence here today. The market power of these large grocery retailers has grown dramatically in the last 2 decades. Retail consolidation has had a dramatic impact on the food supply chain, and everybody here knows the single most powerful entity in food production in the world's single largest retailer is Walmart. Walmart's relentless quest for larger market share throughout the nations of the world and its growing market share provides it with the power to apply increasing pressure on the food processors and the lower price and cut cost, which in turn passes losses down the food supply chain. This drives down workers' wages and farmers' prices. Caught in the vice of Walmart, many of our colleagues and friends and neighbors have found themselves unable to support their families and have lost their livelihoods and their American dream. One of our members, a dairy processing worker, was going to speak to you here today. In the area where he works, Walmart has more than 30% of the grocery market share in 7 of 8 markets. In one area, Walmart has 50% of the grocery market share. Until recently, Walmart was the major consumer of his dairy processing company. But then, without warning, Walmart dropped the company as a supplier because of a cheaper price from a national conglomerate. Now his company is threatening workers at the plant to work harder and to produce faster products at a reduced cost. We know that the quest to woo Walmart back is going to force concessions, wage reductions, health care reductions can't be far behind. This worker with his job and the jobs of his co-workers are on the line. Understandably, he was unwilling to speak in this public audience. But I ask that this panel consider him and his family, the farmers involved in this, his ability to make a living and to keep his lifestyle as he sees it today, and look into the pressure that retail consolidation and Walmart has put on the dairy industry as a whole that many of us here today depend on for our livelihoods. This is urgent, and I ask for you to move on this immediately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Howard A.V. Roth. I'm from Southwest Wisconsin. I'm a pork producer here in this great dairy state, but I wanted to bring my views here instead of traveling to Colorado or somewhere else. The decline in the number of pigs whose prices is negotiated each day concerns me, but I do not believe government intervention is the answer to that problem. focus on better information systems and expanding markets for more information. The mandatory price reporting law needs to be reauthorized in a timely manner. The last time it expired in 2004, it took more than 18 months to get the reauthorization. The percentage of all wholesale cuts reported to USDA under the current voluntary system is between 3 and 4%. Most weeks that is so low that it casts doubt about whether USDA's published count value accurately represents U.S. carcasses value as a whole. It also leaves me and many others uncomfortable using the published USDA cutout value to price my hogs. In summary, I think more market information on hogs and cuts and values are needed. Incentives like tax credits or low interest loans to medium and small market retailers and processors would be helpful. I also think to help young farmers get into the business, there needs to be more education and money spent in that process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ruth Simpson, and I am on the board of the Family Farm Defenders. I have been working on dairy issues for over 20 years, and it all has bottoms down to farmers getting a fair price. And they just aren't in the marketplace. It is just not happening. There obviously are multiple reasons for that have been explained. I wanted to have a couple comments that are a little bit off, but pricing, but have to do with farmer control. And one is the allowance of block voting in the dairy industry. I don't think most farmers understand what's happening with their pricing system because it's done by block voting and they're not notified or know anything about it, and I think block voting is very undemocratic and it should not be allowed to happen. Secondly, I think a lot of us remember the farm crisis in the 1980s when farm foreclosures were happening much too often. And that is obviously going to be happening again very soon if we don't fix the farm system. You have heard people say they have been losing money and taking on debt. Well, what happened in the 1980s is very similar. We went through a financial crisis in the early 1980s, and within 2 years, the farm sector was devastated. And we are going to be seeing that happen again if the United States government does not do something to help set a fair price for dairy farmers. So I urge action immediately to try and correct this situation.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Scott Scholz. I'm the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Farmers Union. Before coming to the Wisconsin Farmers Union, I spent about 35 years in the newspaper industry, including 22 of them at one of Wisconsin's leading rural publications, The Country Today. Throughout my career, one thing has become clear, and it's in this day of technology, it's becoming even more clear. We're sitting in this room talking about the effects of antitrust issues on farmers. I believe fully that we have to take that argument beyond this room of farmers. I say that because if we read the online feedback from the newspaper stories about this today, you will quickly see from the people commenting about this that they don't give a damn about farmers out in the community. Non-farmers just don't give a damn about us, folks. That's a fact. A very small handful do. This has come down to an overall economic development question, this issue of consolidation. When I was a child growing up in Clark County, Wisconsin, I was raised on a small dairy farm, a diversified operation with a few hogs and the like. There was a field representative at our door from a small dairy almost every day of the week, it seemed. Someone wanted to offer my father a higher price for milk. My dad, in his earlier years, used to sit and tell me, someday when it gets narrowed down to just a few players, we're going to get what we deserve. Little did he know how his words were going to ring true, but in a total opposite way than he had anticipated. It seems the dairy farmers are getting what they deserve. In many counties, including Darren Von Ruden's home county of Vernon, in my county of Clark County, there used to be a dairy plant literally in every township. There was competition. The competition is gone. The competition is owned by one or two players, with the likes of Dean Foods leading the way. Now, we can say that really affects us, but as I said before, until we take this issue out and make it a rural economic issue, we aren't going to hear very much progress. That same home place where I grew up in Clark County virtually no longer exists. It's a small bedroom community. It used to be a thriving economic place. Loyal, Wisconsin, the Chamber of Commerce used to tout itself as the shopping center city, and that no longer is. It can't be, because there are no retail stores, including a grocery store, left in that town. I can easily trace, and I think the Department of Justice can easily trace the economic losses that occurred in that small community and other small rural communities and bigger ones, as far as that goes, all the way around in a circle to what's going on with the consolidation and antitrust problems in our industry. And we have to, as an industry, get out and tell people this affects everybody. So I think that when we get that argument made, the Department of Justice and USDA are going to hear on a much bigger scale that we have to do something to control the consolidation and control of the industry by one or two players.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jim Brown, and I'm from Springfield, Illinois now, but I spent my life as a corn, soybean, and hog farmer in north central Iowa. And though I agree with the stance of the Farmers Union in Wisconsin and Iowa and Illinois, I want to disagree with the gentleman who just says that the consumers in the city don't care about farmers. When I went to Illinois and began the work that I'm doing now, when I got up into Chicago and got with the people in Chicago, it's as though they wanted to touch me because I had spent my life as a family farmer. Farmers today are less than 1% of the population. The urban dwellers love the family farm. We do not have the political power to change this, but those urban consumers do, and if you want to make a change, go to the urban consumers, because they're going to help us do this. Now, back to the issue of consolidation and concentration. This meeting here today reminds me of the hundreds and hundreds of meetings that I attended in the mid-90s when the pork industry, my industry, was being consolidated. And we couldn't get it done. I met with Joel Klein, President Clinton's special appointee on antitrust, and at a dinner meeting one night when he and I were talking, he said, "Jim, everything you're saying is true. We're going after Microsoft, and if we can't get Microsoft for what they're doing, we ain't going to get anybody." We've got a problem in the United States that we need enforcement of the antitrust laws. The laws are on the books. We have to strengthen those laws and do what Teddy Roosevelt did to break up the monopolies. I'd like to cut through the creeping Charlie on the top to get down to the heart of this issue. And the heart of this issue is really, what is capitalism? And this is the definition of capitalism from the American Heritage Dictionary. It says, an economic system in which the means of production and distribution are privately or corporately owned and development is proportionate to the accumulation and reinvestment of profits gained in a free market. We keep hearing that word today, free market, free market. What is a free market? And I have two questions that I'd like to have you ponder. I'm not looking for answers here today. What control of a market share can an individual or a monopoly or a conspiring group of individuals, an oligopoly, have? What proportion of a market share can any of these individuals hold before it is no longer a free market? The second question is, capitalism is the investment and reinvestment of money that is gained in a free market. What happens to the free markets that are around the consolidated markets that are no longer free when the profits that are gained from a monopolized or oligopolized market suddenly are invested into the free market? How can we have free markets according to capitalism if the capital that's flowing around is all coming from monopolies and oligopolies? That destroys the whole free market system. And if we're going to get down to the heart of the problem that's being discussed here today, we're going to have to stop cutting the creeping Charlie off above the ground, and we're going to have to get down at the root of what the problem is. This is the foundation of Adam Smith capitalism itself. And the foundation of Adam Smith capitalism is that there has to be the invisible hand of the marketplace that is out of the control of any human or humans conspiring together to manipulate or be able to control that market. And the only way we are going to do that is not by having investigations over the surface. We're going to have to get down to what it requires to create an Adam Smith capitalistic economy. And that is a large number of unrelated producers of a product enacting transactions with a large number of unrelated purchasers of that product. And in that negotiation that's taking place where nobody is able to control anything except the price that is set in that small transaction at that time, until we get this opening up where there are so many producers of a product and so many purchasers of a product that nobody can control it, we are not going to have Adam Smith capitalism. Confucius said the breakdown of a society begins when we mislabel reality with words. A centrally controlled economy is a centrally controlled economy. What is the difference between the centralized control of the U.S. economy by a few firms and oligopolies that we label capitalism, and what was going on with the centralized control by a few individuals who were living under the hammer and sickle in the former Soviet Union? We need to come to recognize that we do not have Adam Smith capitalism at work in America today. And it's up to you folks. I'm glad you're doing this. The time has changed. Joel did what he could. But the time has changed. And hopefully we can raise the community's awareness across America that we are living in an illusion when we think that we are living in an Adam Smith economy, because we are not. Thank you.
Thank you.
2 minutes. We want to give people an opportunity to talk. We also want to have as many people who want to talk be able to talk, so it's a balancing act. And we would ask everyone to please cooperate with us as much as possible because we want to hear you.
Good morning. Larry Bailey, partners in a family farm, 1,000-cow dairy up in upstate New York. I came here today because I was under the impression, and I'm glad to hear that the Capper-Volstead Act is taking a little bit more of a back burner, as I would say, I'm glad to hear that we're focusing not so much on the cooperatives, but I'm still going to give my view on our cooperative that we're members of. We're members of Dairy Farmers of America, and you know, it's it's member-owned, 9,500 cows, and I'm proud to be a member of that cooperative because it is one large family. Some of the things that our family does, our membership does provide, you know, is that we elect our own board members and others to represent us. And we're very proud to do that. We do that in a very democratic way. Okay? And then also, many services that DFA provides. Buying groups, helps farmers with buying tires, fuel, other sort of supplies, dairy supplies. They have programs for the young farmers. We talked a lot about today. We heard the panel talk about young farmers and getting young farmers involved. That's very important to DFA and continuing their membership to bring in the next generation of farmers. And then also contracting programs for both milk and feed. All right, DFA has provided us a fair and equitable market for over 10 or 11 years that we've been their members. All right, they've helped us reduce our somatic cell count in 1,000 cows to 135,000 mils or lower, and our bacteria count low. All right. We also work with dairies to make truck routes a lot more efficient. DFA is always willing to educate their member owners in all aspects of the industry, whether it's the processors, the producers, or the trucking operations. And they're never afraid to recognize their dairies of success. Over the past 18 months, we all know the price has been low, and I'm going to equate it this spring. We wanted to buy a new tractor. Our newest tractor is 5 years old. Our next newest tractor is 8 years old and has 16,000 hours on it. That's about 175,000 miles to the average consumer of a car. Consumers trade their cars every 4 to 5 years. Dairy farmers this past few years haven't been able to buy new equipment. It all equates to higher repair costs. Everybody says that we don't have a choice. We do have a choice. Every year, 60 days before my anniversary date, I send DFA a letter of resignation and say I'm going to find a new market. For 10 years I've done this, and for 10 years I've remained with DFA because they are a very competitive market. And last year alone, in addition to the $500,000 that we had to borrow to stay in business, we would have lost an additional $250,000 if we switched away from DFA. Cooperatives are important. We're glad to hear that the Assistant Attorney General is taking a little back burner on the cooperatives and focusing more. We do need a better system. We do need more money for our milk, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank Ron Kine for being here. I don't see my representatives here, Lee Nearson or Dan Kapanke, in attendance. That's because they're reactive and not proactive. I'm here to tell the powers that be to enforce the antitrust laws for the world of agriculture. I live in Viroqua, Wisconsin, in Vernon County, which has more organic farms per capita than any place in the US of A. If the government subsidized organic farms, as they do factory farms, we'd be eating organic food at an affordable price. So I say to the Justice Department to enforce the antitrust laws. As Bob Marley sang, "Dem belly full, but we hungry." And as the founder of Earth Day, Wisconsin's own Gaylord Nelson would say, don't forget to have a beer or three. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Mike Ferguson from Senatobia, Mississippi. It's about 30 miles south of Memphis, Tennessee. I had to come a long way to get here, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak before this group. You know, there's a perception out there that in my part of the world, there's not a lot of opportunity to market your milk. Well, even though my state has 125 producers, that's all we've got in the whole state. I've got 4 different choices. I choose DFA. The reason I choose DFA is it gives me a peace of mind of marketing my milk that I don't have to I mean, when you work 16, 18 hours days out on the farm, the last thing you need is a call in the middle of the night saying, well, we're not going to take your milk tomorrow. And DFA provides us with a stable market. The services that we receive from things such as the health care that's provided, naturally we have to pay for it, but health care is an issue for a lot of people. We have a group policy that it's offered to every member. Things such as loans. Larry said just a minute ago, the quality issues. We have a first-rate lab, a first-rate field staff. If you have problems on your farm, they're there to help. And I can tell you firsthand, over the course of the last 6 to 7 years, I have firsthand knowledge of how they responded during Hurricane Katrina. The caring that the employees working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. In the last 5 to 6 years, we've had a lot of things thrown out there at us. I've got firsthand knowledge about the change in the culture that has taken place at DFA. The transparency, the honesty, the caring for the producers out there, and that's why I market my milk with DFA. And if that changes back to a negative, I won't be marketing my milk with them any longer. Thank you.
My name is Alfred Warner Jr. I'm from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, so I also came a long distance. I want to thank Secretary Vilsack and Assistant Attorney General Varney for their public statements in support of cooperatives and the Capper-Volstead Act. It's been very good to be here today to hear all the different comments, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. I also want to say that I think we need to support all segments of agriculture, not just organic or small farmers, not just large farmers, all farmers. We have room for everybody in our country. To answer Secretary Vilsack's question in the last session, now is the most opportune time in my 45-year career for changing the way milk is priced. Farmers are talking with each other and coming together more than ever. Farming for the future is a good first step. We can build on that. We need transparent price discovery, stable prices, and a fair share of the consumer dollar for the farm families that are working.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Doug Wolf, hog producer from Lancaster, Wisconsin. I come here today because I too was trying to save a trip from Colorado. My point being today is on the proposed GIPSA rules. I have just a little bit of concern I want to talk to you about the unintended consequences of writing a generic rule that's going to incorporate all the livestock industries, especially the pork industry with the chicken industry. Contracting has been important to the pork industry. It's been a way to allow young people and other farmers to get involved, a large means of sharing risk, and allowed for the pork industry to grow and continue on. Some of the proposed changes in the contracting, I would caution, are not in the best favor of hog production. The other area of concern is some of the pork market purchasing programs proposed for the packers. Be careful there that you don't go overboard and in the end cause a bigger problem than what we have today by limiting the packer-to-packer purchasing, which is exposed on the market reporting service, could cause for an increase in concentration. So I would just caution that during this to be careful on trying to do something generic. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Bill Anderson. I'm an apprentice Wisconsin cheesemaker. I'm very interested in making artisanal cheeses, especially artisanal raw milk cheeses. I was very disappointed recently in Governor Doyle's veto of the raw milk bill. It seems that our Department of Agriculture has taken it upon themselves to tell consumers and small family farmers that they don't have a right to have a transaction to allow the dairy farmers to connect directly with the consumers and sell high-quality milk directly to the consumers. As a cheesemaker, I think the quality of the milk directly influences the quality of the cheese, and having a diverse and high-quality milk supply is critical to what I want to do as a cheesemaker. I also feel that our regulatory system is geared towards medium and large scale processors. The rules are just not written to be conducive to encouraging small artisanal agriculture. Now, if you look at any country which consumes a large proportion of dairy products, I like to use the example of France, Switzerland, Italy. There are long and respected traditions of people consuming raw dairy products, raw milk, cheeses, artisanal, and they value their artisanal agricultural products in those countries. If we want that in this country, we need to value it as well. And I feel that there's been, rather than valuing, there's been hostility from our regulators, hostility from the large processors towards people that want to do things that are unique, special, and high quality. So I just feel that that's something that needs to be taken into account too, is creating a regulatory framework that is conducive towards artisanal scale agriculture. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paula Maben. I'm a dairy farmer from Pennsylvania. September of '77, I said, I do. I got a husband and I got a dairy farm. It was on-the-job training, and I've been training ever since. The last 18 months have been really tough, as everybody knows. But one of the first decisions that my husband and I made, and we do work together, we make our decisions together, and that was, where are we going to market our milk? In the Northwest Pennsylvania, we have 4 or 5 different places that we can market. The one we chose was Dairy Farmers of America, and for a lot of reasons. It was because that was one less stress we had to worry about. We knew they were going to pick up our milk. They could do it better than what we could as an individual by working as a family. And they really are our family. My husband is an amputee. With them, you get health insurance, you get workman's comp. There are a lot of things that DFA has in working with the family. Our milk hauler is my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law married my sister. When he has problems with a 14-hour wait, he calls us. We call people at the plant and say, okay, what's the problem? Can you fix this? Can you help us out? And they do. That's what is working with a family, is working with a cooperative. And as a member, I just want to say thank you to DFA, thank you for the Capper of Allstadt, and for having us here. But we do have a problem as dairy farmers, and the problem needs to be fixed, or we won't have dairy farmers.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Nelson, and I am a farmer from Crawford County in the Driftless area of Wisconsin, an area uniquely suited to small farms and dairy farming and grazing. Unfortunately, in my township, I was studying some of the demographics, and in a 10-year period, we had lost 75% of our farmers. It seems to be a consensus here today that the price of dairy is too low, and that needs to be fixed. But I'd like to speak to another issue that the Department of Justice perhaps might investigate, and that is the proliferation of these giant mega dairies in the state and where the money is coming from. Who is financing these dairies? I would like the Department of Justice to follow the money. We have heard rumors that one of the largest mega dairy owner groups is being financed by one of the retailers. And if that isn't illegal, it should be. And so I'd like the Department of Justice to look into this specifically, because this does impact all of the producers, the medium and small, that are going out of business. And as a consumer, I'm concerned about the supply of food and the fact that this large scaleness of our agriculture is quite a vulnerable system, and we need to be looking at more fair and more equitable ways of diversifying the food system. Thank you.
Can I do that? My name is Steve Hansen, and I own and operate a family dairy farm in Clovis, New Mexico with my 3 sons. Our family's been in the dairy business now for 70 years. We milk 3,500 cows, raise all our own replacements. Previously, you mentioned the figures of losing $100 per cow per month it even, on large dairies, it works out to that, and you can figure out the numbers. We had to refinance a facility that we'd been paying down for many years. We went in and refinanced and to get $6 million just to stay in business. And hopefully we've seen the end of that. The sad part was when we built the large facility, I built that so that my sons would have a place to dairy. And I had a sigh of relief recently when one of my sons decided he's going to go ahead, stay in college, and get his PhD and probably won't be returning to the farm. It was a sad day, but it was a sigh of relief. And I know a lot of farms are going through the same experience, large, small, medium. It doesn't seem to matter what size. Nobody's making any money right now. I would like to say we do ship to DFA. In our area, we have choices. There's roughly 4 co-ops we can ship to. DFA has also been instrumental in starting up Hillmar Cheese came into our area, and we balanced them while they started up. And so I don't feel that they're trying to monopolize our area. If anything, they've created choices for us. No reason for me to go on and talk about all the other services. They've all been mentioned, but that's all I have.
Thank you.
I'm Maria Nye. My family and I dairy in west central Utah, and despite the 3,000 cows, it is a family farm. We relocated from the Northeast, and we have always been cooperative members, and when we relocated, we chose cooperatives again. And it is truly a relief to hear the change of direction, perhaps, that we've heard, that Capper-Volstead is not under the gun as we had been told earlier. I do welcome to the fight the Department of Justice and USDA. We need every farm that we have in this country. We need people who milk 50 cows. We need people who milk 5,000 cows. We have to have that to feed our country, to feed our world. Our membership in our marketing and supply co-op supports our family by finding the best price for our product and low cost for our inputs. And both of those are equally important, as we've found out in spades in the last year and a half. As dairy producers, we are tremendously good at what we do. We're not so good at marketing most of the time, and that's where the strength of our cooperative really helps our business in particular. We need to have that marketing expertise to get the best price for our product. My concern, as I've heard from many other people here today, is with the pricing mechanism that we have. Our system is convoluted, unduly complicated, and antique. And I told someone earlier that in a lot of places, antiques are worth a lot of money. This one is not. We really need to change the way that we price milk in this country. Our system worked well when it was created. That was nearly 100 years ago, and things have changed just a wee bit since then. We need to have a system that values our product and our contribution to our communities and our consumers. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Bob Cran. I farm 650 acres and milk 165 cows in Michigan. I'm a member of Michigan Milk Producers Cooperative, and those numbers are about the average size of our membership. I'm here today because my family and I strongly believe in the cooperative principles and the business framework that has been the backbone of American agriculture for nearly a century. My family and I choose to be members of MMPA because we know belonging to a milk marketing cooperative is the best way for us to get a fair price for our product and have a consistent market for the milk we produce 365 days a year. In Michigan, there's an opportunity to belong to one of 12 different cooperatives. Our cooperative is owned by approximately 2,200 members with farms in Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Ohio. MMPA members are family farm operations. The average member ships approximately 240,000 pounds of milk every month. MMPA was formed in 1916 in order for dairy farmers to find a stable, reliable way to market their milk. While many things have changed since 1916, the need still exists for the cooperative marketing cooperatives to remain vital to the success of our family farm and dairy farmers in our country. MMPA's mission statement to market MMPA's members' milk to the greatest advantage possible is one of the main reasons why our family depends on MMPA. The primary advantage we receive as members of a dairy cooperative is a guarantee of market and a guarantee of payment for the milk our family farm produces. Cooperatives do not guarantee a profit for the milk sold, but rather the cooperative finds a market for our product and collects the payments for which are then passed to us, the members. By providing this marketing function to our farm, we can concentrate our efforts on our animal care and farm operations while the cooperative markets our product. MMPA and the majority of other dairy cooperatives own manufacturing plants that turn the perishable fluid milk into stable shelf dairy ingredients like condensed milk, powder, and butter. The ability to convert the fresh milk to dairy ingredients helps balance the milk supply with production outsteps demand, especially on weekends and holidays. The dairy ingredients produced at the plants are vital ingredients produced in a variety of food products like yogurt, baked goods, candy, cheese, pudding, infant formula. Our cooperative owns 2 milk processing plants and is in partnership with an arrangement with a cheese manufacturer. Operations at our cooperative plants fluctuate dramatically day to day, week to week, season to season. During a typical week, milk received at MMPA's plants on Saturday and Sunday can exceed the daily intake of the other 5 days of the week by more than 1 million pounds each day. Our cooperative plants also experience tremendous variability in plant volume due to seasonal changes in demand from bottling plants. Operating dairy manufacturing plants is just one example of the opportunities dairy farmers have in the marketplace when they can join together through a cooperative. It would be unrealistic for individual members to have the processing capacity in their farm to handle milk not needed in fluid form and to meet the demands of other dairy products. While producing a solid market for milk is an important function of MMPA, our farm relies on a cooperative to keep our farm running efficiently. MMPA offers a long list of member services and programs that can help us to be better dairy farmers and to meet state and federal rules and regulations. I'd end with one question. Will we ever collect the dairy import assessment? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Frank Ontario. I farm in West Central Wisconsin. My wife and myself operate a 125-cow dairy farm, Holstein. Thank you for the Justice Department for coming here. 2 points I'd like to make to the Justice Department is, one, there is competition for my milk out in the countryside. I presently sell to Dairy Farmers of America. I have the opportunity to sell to Foremost Farms. I have the opportunity to sell my milk to Land O'Lakes. I also have my opportunity to sell my milk to AMPI. And I also have independent buyers of milk that would be interested in milk if I would like to make that choice. So as far as I'm feeling, there's nothing for you guys to look there. If there's anything that you folks at the Justice Department need to address is what is happening to the consumer that is buying milk in the grocery store. Where is the difference in this price? I think we've heard it this morning. What the price of milk is, what the dairy farmer gets, and then the cooperative sells it to these retailers. And look at the margin they're taking, and none of it went down through this great recession of '09 that we went through. If that money could at least have been passed through to the consumer, maybe we could have turned this economy around a lot quicker. Somewhere, somebody made a lot of money this last year. It wasn't the dairy farmers, and it wasn't the consumers that are buying the milk. I think that's where the Justice Department should be looking. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Clement Jarvis, and I'm a dairy farmer from Enosburg, Vermont. I'm also the vice chair of the St. Albans Cooperative's Young Cooperators Executive Committee. Our farm consists of myself and 3 brothers and my parents. We milk 1,000 cows. Our family farms were consolidated in 1995 when we started milking in one larger barn. We now crop around 2,000 acres of grass and corn, and our farm now employs 10 family members and 12 non-family employees. In northern Vermont, I have choices where I can sell my milk. We are proud to send our milk to St. Albans Cooperative Creamery. I believe my cooperative is fair in its dealings and has competitive premiums. I also am very appreciative of the role St. Albans plays in both the local and national leadership for the dairy industry. As a dairy farmer, I am always busy with my daily chores and responsibilities. I don't have time to always keep track of the changing happenings in the dairy industry. St. Albans, through its farmer board, its management, is always keeping its farmers informed, as well as impacting legislation and programs for the best interest of its farmers. Without the cooperative information conduit for its farmers and its involvement and guidance of industry changes, I believe the average farmer would not be able to be heard on most of the industry-changing events. St. Albans has formed a partnership with Dairy Farmers of America. This partnership helps both cooperatives work together in the marketplace, as well as having access to the largest markets in the Northeast. This partnership helps all farmers by everyone working together and not driving down premiums that can benefit the farmers. I am concerned with the market consolidation in processing, manufacturing, and the retail end of the industry. As a result from this consolidation, there are fewer markets for my milk. There are several challenges that are facing the dairy industry today. The volatility in the federal pricing policy we currently have makes planning and budgeting very hard. The increasing cost of production, fluctuating profit margin are also uncontrollable factors. The pricing mechanism needs to be examined and revamped. My co-op is working with other co-ops to come up with solutions to these problems to help all dairymen. It is my belief that the cooperative structure absolutely provides value to me as a dairy farmer. With a busy daily schedule, I feel the leadership from all the co-ops that is striving to better industry is the best and most effective way for our dairy farmers' voice and their concerns to ultimately come up with solutions to the industry. As our suffering dairy industry is looking for answers to the current price volatility, I want to ask all the dairymen and the cooperatives represented here to not let regional differences stop the much-needed change for our industry. We all need to stop worrying about other regions' prices and look for a fair price for everyone to work together. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say we'll probably take one more from each microphone at this session so that we can end on time and so that people can get a little bite of lunch before we do the panels this afternoon. But we'll have another session this evening. I think it's at 5 o'clock, and it'll be the same process, and we'll be happy to be here for however long it takes.
I want to first thank the USDA and the Department of Justice for being here. I'm a certified public accountant. I also want to state off the hand right away that I agree that the free market system needs to continue to prosper in America, and that in the dairy industry and in the farming industry, it does not prosper in that way. I have been studying the profitability of small dairy and diversified farms for 10 years. My former career path was in manufacturing firms, and the stark difference was that they have to make a profit to stay in business. The question was raised this morning, how do we get younger farmers, since the average age at this point is 57? Younger farmers have to start small. They can't start with mega dairies or large farms. And often they have to buy their land, their buildings, their equipment. None of that is given to them. Sometimes it is, but not always. Farming cannot be a volunteer, not-for-profit career choice, needing an off-farm job, which everybody of course you need an off-farm job, to support the family, while it is considered profitable if they just break even. Since the 1970s, the USDA policy has been to increase disposable income by reducing retail food costs. This helps people have more disposable money to buy other goods. However, it's at the price of the farmer, because by reducing the cost over and over, as people have said, nobody passes the buck past the farmer. It ends on their land. This policy has created an institutionalized not-for-profit business models that we even hear phrases like coming close to covering operational costs, or, well, this is without regard to labor and capital. There are no other businesses I know that can operate without labor or capital. 89% of farms in Wisconsin, and the majority in the U.S., approximately 65%, are small farms. I noticed that 71% of your farmer panel today was not made up of that group. I'd like to take it from macro to micro, that there's these anti-competition clauses in the contracts with the co-ops, even the most progressive ones, you might say, if you believe that, from, say, Organic Valley, that says that you cannot sell to anybody else. That includes small, it's not just fluid sales to other customers, it's also fluid sales to small, unique cheesemakers that don't need a whole bulk tank's worth every single day, but might only need 1 day's worth or 1 tank full. But these clauses keep them in a serfdom type thing that where they cannot exit because those producers hold their grade A dairy license. And without them, they do not have a grade A dairy anymore and cannot sell to anybody. And in fact, in Wisconsin, the producer applies for and pays for and holds your license. So if you don't agree to their terms and you don't keep agreeing to their terms, you not only no longer have them as your customer, as your buyer, you have nobody unless you now agree to another person's terms without any choice in the matter as time goes on. Yes, you can switch from one co-op to another, but that's a small handful of options. The USDA ERS study has stated that small dairies will continue to decline, large dairies will continue to grow because the economies of scale that they represent, and unless they're able to do a value-added product or do a premium price, which right now is outlawed in most states and in contracts specifically, even if it's allowed in the state, the contract outlaws it through contract law. Therefore, the farmer is held completely captive to these slave-like prices that are keeping them from even having a living, much less staying in business, and many are going bankrupt.
Hi, Mike Keekley. I'm a dairy farmer, family dairy farmer from Stearns County, Minnesota. Stearns County is the leading dairy producing county in Minnesota. I used to have 6 bulk trucks pass my farm every day. Now we only have 5. And the reason for that is 2 of the cooperative decided that, it's really wise for us to put the milk in the same truck. And why I bring that up is because I think as we listened this morning and as we had some testimony, the problem of our price is not between the competition of the cooperatives. I don't think there's anybody in this room that can say that the problem with our milk price is a competition from cooperatives or a lack of competition. What we did hear earlier was that there's a big discrepancy from what the consumer pays and to what the farmer receives. And in my opinion, the more farmers work together in their cooperatives, and we don't have to all be in one cooperative to do that, the closer we can become, or closer we can come to the consumer and get part of that price. I think that should be our objective as we work together and go ahead. And then this consolidation that we talk about, it's not the consolidation of the cooperatives or the farmers. The consolidation is in the Walmarts of the world, if you will, who probably at this point really like us all to come with our individual trucks to their store and say, hey, this is what we got for you this week. And they'll tell us this is what we pay you. I think if we got together as farmers and took our trucks together to a Walmart, for example, and said, this is what we have, what are you going to pay us? And if it's not enough, let's go down the road to the next person. That we can only do if we put ourselves together. And that should be our objective today. Thank you.
All right, last one. Thank you.
Hi, I'll be fast since it's lunchtime. My name is Patty Lavera, and I work for a group called Food and Water Watch, and our members and supporters are consumers, and we've heard a lot about consumers today, and I just wanted to say a few things about what consumers think and what they're starting to understand about this farm to retail price spread. It is an important issue across our food supply. It's particularly acute, I think, and obvious in dairy, and there's the obvious economic issues of if the price goes down for a processor, why does that not pass on to consumers? But the bigger issues that consumers are starting to understand is that this really breaks with what they've been taught about how our market is supposed to work. If we're supposed to be voting with our dollars, which we're told to all of the time. How do we do that when the dollar doesn't reach the people producing the food? And so as people get more and more interested in our food supply, where our food comes from, how it's produced, they can't do that if their dollar doesn't reach the whole way through the chain in an equitable way. And more consumers want to vote with their dollars, and they want to vote against some specific things they see happening in the food supply that they're learning about, and they don't have good options to do so when their dollar gets stuck in the middle. So I would just say, as a last couple points, this interest in local food, buying direct from farmers, is also one way consumers are starting to reject that spread. They're looking for a way to give their dollar to farmers because they do support farmers, and I think that that's a trend that can't be ignored as we talk about the marketplace. And finally, we hear a lot when we're talking about consumers, we hear a lot about choice and how we're so lucky to have all these choices, and we have these grocery stores that are brimming over with options. But when it comes to the dairy case, what we often have is a lot of marketing. We have small regional dairies that used to exist that have been bought up by larger operators, but those labels are still there. That's not choice and it's not competition, it is marketing. And when we explain that to our members and supporters and they learn about it, they're outraged and they ask how it got this bad. So I would just end by saying that consumers want action too. They want it for farmers so they can stay in business, but they also want it for themselves, and they want it now. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much. We're going to break for lunch. It's a short lunch. We need to let our court reporter take a rest, and there are lots of options in this building and in the area. So we'll see you back at 1:15. Thanks.